Otome games have always provided comfort to me. They're games that allow me to accept another world for a moment, to be put into extraordinary circumstances, or to be someone extraordinary myself. They're stories that allow me to escape reality for a moment, and instead, relive the feeling of falling in love, over and over again. Sometimes the fun is in the action, running from murderers, solving crimes, winning airship races. Sometimes the fun is in the comedy, dating people who turn into cats, sentient dragons, or even birds. But sometimes the fun is in the genuine emotional connections you make despite knowing that the person on the other side isn't real and never could be. One of the best Otome games relies on that very feeling. That game is Our Life. By all accounts, I should hate Our Life. It only has one love interest. They are the childhood friend cliché. There is no overarching story or goals, no way to lose, no groundbreaking choices, and no CG art of your character. But Our Life does something spectacular by committing to one idea so much that it perfects it. Our Life is the story of you, the player, and your neighbor, Cove Holden. You both live in Sunset Bird, California, a beach tourist town that provides the backdrop for the entire game. You'll spend the entirety of your playthrough living through relatable everyday moments of summer with Cove, your families, and some friends you'll make along the way. The main gimmick of this title is that you grow up with this neighbor. You start at 8 years old and play through your lives until you reach 18, or older with the DLC. These stages of life are separated into 3 steps with 10 optional scenes in each. So for step 1, you both are 8 years old and just meeting for the first time with optional sleepovers and beach days, while step 3 has you just graduating high school and preparing for your adult lives with optional charity events and road trips. Almost everything is customizable. Your looks are customizable, your attitude towards Cove is customizable, your hobbies are customizable, your phone color is customizable, Cove himself is customizable, your eating habits are customizable. Everything from whether you feel anxiety or dysphoria over your own body to what sandwich you decided to eat on a hot day is determined by you, the player. Also, you get to decide if you even like this sandwich that you made. It's that customizable. And to me, that is a technical feat of wonder, because there are times when Cove or your moms will comment on your behavior or your change in demeanor or a difference in preference depending on past choices when you were younger, and I cannot imagine how much work that had to be. He gave me a journal as a gift on one of our dates because at some point I told another character that I like writing. And there are a lot of choices in this game. Like, a lot. A lot. I cannot stress enough how many freaking choices are in this game. There are more choices in the introduction sequence than most Otome titles have in their entire game. And a majority of these choices are formed around developing who you are. They have a 3-color system that indicates whether an answer is meant to be reserved, excited, or nervous to help you determine the tone of your choices. This, plus the choices focus on your reaction and phrasing versus set outcomes, really emphasizes your ownership of this character. There are multiple situations where you can choose between 2 options, like hanging out with your sister to play trivia or choosing to goof off with Cove. But there are multiple ways to go about that choice. Maybe your character doesn't like to talk, so they mostly respond non-verbally. Maybe your character is a troublemaker, so every sentence has a bit of sass. The individuality of your character is as important, if not more so, than the direction your story goes. And you never feel threatened by the amount of choice because there is no good or bad way of accomplishing anything put in front of you. If you feel your character would throw a hissy fit over an unexpected trip to the movies, go for it. If you would tell your parents Cove is trying to run away, then tell them. Cove will not love you any less for your choices, nor will your parents or sister. Which leads me to the first of 3 issues with this overall spectacular game. Our Life is the definition of cozy. Everything is played out in these rosy, nostalgic glasses that prevent anything from really being wrong. I have tried to play a character that was more negative and reclusive and hated her sister and was bothered by her mom's affections, but even then the game sort of pushed my character to forgive and forget. I tried to make Cove jealous by flirting with other characters or stealing a sip of another person's shake. I tried to be mad that my first attempt at a kiss was rebuked. I wanted to be jealous of Cove's new friends who had the same interests as him. But the game isn't designed for negativity. At least, not on a large scale. Negativity is the natural salt to positivity's sugar. You need both to bake the real delicious kind of cookies, but this game is all sugar. If you play the entire game in one sitting, you are going to be exhausted by the monotony of just constant, wholesome goodness with no variance. They do have one optional section where you and Cove can get in a fight, but it's very minor, and you are forced to forgive him immediately, so it doesn't really hit the itch I get for some sort of conflict where we at least get to stew in anger for a bit. This issue would normally be a game killer for me, but in the context of our life, it's more of a minor inconvenience. Our life is the definition of a safe space. You have two loving moms, your neighbor has a well-meaning single father who has an amicable divorce with his ex-wife, you can be trans or non-binary, you can be aro or ace. Cove is even canonically neurodivergent. No one you meet really judges you, and everyone loves you unconditionally. It is a very sweet game that makes you feel safe and loved and supported in a way no other game really does, and because of that, I understand why negativity wasn't a big feature in this title. The goal of the game is to put you back into childhood, into a time where anything was possible and the world around you was magic, where your worries were small and manageable, but still real and still frightening. It gives you the nostalgia of that time and never breaks it. It starts you with that feeling of a perfect past and leaves on a hopeful wish for the future. This game wasn't just about falling in love, it was about giving yourself a do-over. One where life doesn't lose those rose-tinted glasses. But that doesn't mean the characters don't go through conflicts, it just means that nothing feels truly threatening. Cove has to deal with his parents' divorce and the huge change that has just happened in his life. His father, Cliff, has to learn that good intentions don't justify forcing others into plans without their input, and that he is, in general, pretty meddlesome. Kira has to face being a distant parent, and your family... okay, your family is practically perfect and loving except for Lizzie's troublesome teenage years, but that's for the best. It gives the game a balance to tackle these issues, but gives you a safe distance away so that you never feel threatened by them. You empathize with Cove's wish for his family to be back together, and for his distaste for change, but you aren't forced to feel that directly. Again, part of what makes this game a perfect safe space. The only problems you face are the ones you choose your character to have. But I said 3 issues, and I only just got done kind of explaining one. What are the other 2? The second is the CG art. Overall, Our Life is a beautifully produced game with no grammatical or spelling errors, no formatting mistakes, partial voice acting including custom names, and some top-tier nostalgic music that isn't really from my childhood, and yet somehow still brings me back as if it was. It is an absolute treasure to play, and when it goes full force on its CG arts, it is spectacular. This one CG of Cove after I told him I loved him absolutely broke my heart and then stitched it back together within seconds and is gorgeous. But then there are some that just did not get the same treatment. Like this one where we're eating fast food together. It just isn't nearly as good. Then there is the accidentally horrifying art, like this moment where you, an 8-year-old child, are supposed to be handing over a firefly, but it looks more like a spindly demon hand is reaching out to steal his soul. Or this image that is perfectly normal and kinda hot until he smiles and then he's instantly a serial killer come to finally end my life. It is comically out of tone and definitely took me out of some scenes, but fortunately the big moments have the best art, so it isn't frustratingly bad. The last issue I have is not with the game itself, but with GB Patch Games. They release content in chunks, and that's just not fair. The amount of time I had to wait for Step 3 DLC, and then Step 4, and then the Wedding DLC was just criminal. Criminal, I tell you. How dare you make a game where I fall so heavily into this world and my character only to have to recreate everything several months later because I forgot what character traits I had? How dare you make me play through one love interest route for over 60 hours and then maybe 2 years later add another 2 other guys who I won't be able to romance because how can I start this game and not fall for mother frickin' Cove Holden? And how dare you not update XOXO Blood Droplets because that game is a masterpiece, and yes, I'm going to use this video about a totally different game to complain about the fact that I haven't been able to murder my way through all those boys' hearts in a clearly superior version of XOXO Droplets. I love my boy Jeremy, but there's just not enough content, and I was promised DLC, but it's coming up on 3 years now, and I'm starting to feel like maybe they gave up on this one, and I just can't stand for that. Just make a Gale-only version and send it to me in the mail. I will be awaiting your response shortly. Before I conclude this video, I want to discuss probably the most important part of the game, Cove Holden. Cove is delightful. He's the least troublesome troublemaker I've ever seen, comfortable climbing in through your window in the middle of the night, but not comfortable sharing a single sip of a smoothie. Over the years, you can become a dynamic duo, and I think this is what makes this childhood friend more palatable than the others. I'm not told that we've been best friends and had all these great memories together. I lived through those memories. When we both snuck out to investigate ghosts, I played through that memory. I was there when he learned about his dad's bribe. I was there when he came to find me after my birth parents were discussed. I got to play through the formative years of this friendship, so when my character says she's best friends with Cove, I believe her because I feel like a friend of Cove's. Like I lived a whole nother life with him by my side. Our life, beginning and always, is a treasure that will always stand out as being a home away from home. GB Patch games have improved so much from when they made Lake of Voices. It isn't traditional for an Otome game, it isn't heart-poundingly thrilling, it isn't filled with mysteries and lore. It's just the pure essence of growing childhood romance made into a perfect story as unique as the player. And with their new project looking just as good, I foresee a bright future for them, now and forever. Thank you so much for watching another great Otome month. I hope you had some romantic fun this year, and I can't wait for the next. Bye-bye!